Hey y'all, it's me, Rambeling Rich. I figured I'd just start off today by reflecting back on, this is one of my first videos, and today is Sunday, February 21st, 2021. I just want to start off by reviewing, places me growing up. So, you know me. If you don't, I'm Richard Griffith. Start these videos called Rambeling Rich for my stories and lifetime experiences and whatnot. It's one of the first videos I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to go over my whole life story real quick, places I live, quick people I've known. I'm going to try to make it quick. It's probably going to be a long fucking video. And I cuss a lot. Sorry. It comes out. It's just me. Anyhow, I was born November 25th in Concord, California. 1964, Concord, California Naval Weapons Station. My dad was a Marine stationed at the Naval Weapons Station there. He married my mom. She was from, I think she was living in Pittsburgh or Walnut Creek at the time. Maybe Concord, I'm not sure. But anyhow, that's where I was born, Concord, California, East Bay. To be honest, the first place I can kind of remember living was in South San Francisco. And I don't remember much because I was a baby, come on. I do remember like there being like a little, I remember a car wash being like across the street down the ways. I think it was off of Spruce. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, there was like a car wash over there, and a little shopping center, a little outdoor, parking lot with the shopping center there, strip mall. And that's pretty much all I can remember of that. That's the first place I remember living. And then I remember we lived up on I call it up on the hill, in Pacifica, off of Manor Drive, and we had a little house there. Believe it or not, literally had a picket fence, nice backyard. I can remember going out in the backyard. I think we had a German Shepherd there. I know we had a dog, and I think the neighbors poisoned it or killed it somehow. I don't know if they poisoned it and then stuck them with sticks or just, I don't remember. I remember that our dog died. I think our neighbors killed it. That's just what I would call. Pacifica Manor Drive. Then after that, we moved to San Bruno. My dad had got a job at United Airlines. That's what he did after he got out of the military. That's the first job I remember my dad having out of the Marines was at United Airlines. He was an aircraft mechanic there. Amazing place, man. He used to take me to Bring Your Kid to Work Day in the 70s. Freaking awesome. First of all, I remember walking in where they clock in at United Airlines there at it was the maintenance bay there in South San Francisco, right by the water, right by the airport. It's where they bring the planes to do maintenance on them. And I remember my dad is the guy that would swap out the jet engines, put the jet engines back on these planes, and work on the actual installation and stuff that the jet engine does. He was a jet engine mechanic. He did that. He learned all that skill and trade in the military in Vietnam, in Vietnam. He was a jet engine mechanic there over in Chu Lai. He went to Chu Lai, Vietnam. Did 2 tours over there. He didn't have my birthday. That was one of the weird things about my life story is, and my dad is going over to Vietnam. He was shipped out, and in the middle of the night, he said he went to bed on November 24th, 1964. During the night, they had passed over the international date line, so he skipped a day, went a day ahead, and woke up on November 26th, 1964. So the story is my dad never had the day that I was born. It was one of those skip days. He happened to be crossing international date line at that time. Weird coincidence. It's kind of cool for me. It's a great story. Um, Back up to the houses we lived at, and of course my dad was a jet engine mechanic. I remember him taking me to work and going there. They had a gigantic fish tank as you walked in the door, which I thought, wow, fish tank at your work? That's kind of weird, but it was actually kind of cool. He had his own toolboxes. He made his own tools. I remember him having the little plasti dip stuff back in the day. In the 70s, he made like these screwdrivers, and we dipped the handles in this plasti dip stuff that was actually really, really cool. Probably would have never had any access to that stuff if, it wasn't for my dad. All these tools he made and taught me how to use. Anyway, that's where he was working whenever I remember him. Anyway, after Pacifico, we moved to San Bruno, and we lived over on 7th Avenue. And I have a picture of me I posted on the internet the other day of me in front of that park that used to be there, 7th Avenue Park. We lived right next to the park. I think it was a big pink house. And that's a picture of me in my underwear holding my teddy bear, standing in front of the park, chain link fence in front of the park. And that actually is the driveway that I'm standing in, and then my backyard is just on the other side of the driveway. But that was that's also the house where I had my my childhood ghost story. I had my imaginary friend, and the way I remember it was just a normal kid, man. He was just a kid that would come over and play with me. I had a big giant playroom with these French doors, double doors that opened up into it with glass panes in it, so my mom could watch me through there. And I'd have all my toys scattered around there. I had this big red fire engine, had my Tonka trucks, had a little red Tonka pickup that was badass, tailgate folded down. Anyway, this kid would come over and play with me every once in a while. And he loved my fire truck, man. He would always sit on my fire truck. It was big enough you could sit on it and all, but I never really sat on it that I recall. But I remember this kid would always want to sit on my fire truck, and that's really all I remember about him. But anyway, supposedly I never had no friends that came over, or no kid that came over and sat on my fire truck. Turned out it was like a ghost or something, and I don't know if we ever found out that somebody had died in there, or a child had died in that room that was designated my playroom. But who knows? Anyway, that's my childhood ghost story. He was real to me. That's all I can tell you. It was a real interaction as far as I can remember. Nothing scary, nothing weird. Just a normal kid playing with me. And that's that. And that was the house on 7th Avenue in San Bruno, California. After that house, we moved to 4th Street, I recall. And it was a little white house there. And I started I started school in the house on 7th Street. Because I can remember walking to kindergarten from that house down to Bel Air, walking south to Bel Air School. And it was only like maybe, okay, I'm going to have to Google Earth it, but what I can remember, it was only like 2 or 3 blocks, like 3 blocks away to the school property. And it was a dead-end street, and then you just got onto the school property through these 3 little telephone poles that were chopped off so cars couldn't drive onto the school property. But anyhow, Bel Air School, San Bruno, California. And then, so I must have been like 6 years old, 6 or 7. Because I remember 1st grade, we were on 4th Avenue. Kindergarten was on 7th Avenue. 1st grade's 4th Avenue. And Miss Kellogg was my teacher. I can remember I got my bike, my first bike there with training wheels. First 2-wheel bike. I remember my red tricycle over on 7th Avenue. I loved that thing. Me and Teddy would go for rides on that all the time. Another toy I remember having there at 7th Avenue, and we had a big patio that came over the top. It was a 2-story house, and a deck that came out of the 2nd story on the back. Had wooden stairs going up. My dad was had me on his motorcycle, on the front end of his motorcycle was driving around. My dad had a Harley back then, and I remember him scaring my mom. He was going to ride his motorcycle up the stairs with me on the front, and he actually had the front wheel over the front one or two stairs, so we were kind of at an angle, and my mom was getting scared, so my dad said he wasn't going to back off down. But another toy I can remember having there was an airplane on a string. And I know it sounds hokey, but it was actually really, really fun. And it was just a plastic airplane, had a little propeller on it that would turn, and it was on a string, and it had a hole in the wing, and a string on the wing, and then a ring on the string. So I would put your finger through the ring, and on the string was attached to the wing of the plane, and you'd sit there and just spin it around, and the plane would fly. I know it sounds stupid now, but man, I loved that thing. That was a cool-ass toy. Not only that, we had the little guns back then. I remember having a little spark gun. Pull the thing, a little wheel would grind, sparks would shoot out the front end of the gun. Yeah, you can't get those anymore now. It's freaking a fire hazard and shit. So, but yeah, those little things like that I remember. Sparks gun, putting it next to your hand, trying to get the sparks to see if it burn it, putting it by your eye. Probably why some kids stopped using it. Oh man, but all that was on 4th Avenue in San Bruno. I'm going to have to look up the addresses and everything to put all those down there and make sure I got it right. I think I still have all that information from my TSA interview, because you know, whenever you do a job application for the government, they want to know every little damn thing about you. So I think I still have all that information. I'll have to dig it out, cross-reference, make sure my memory is right. So I went to 1st grade there on 4th Avenue. Then we moved from 4th Avenue, I think we moved down to San Mateo, California, at 1701 Cypress Avenue, San Mateo, California. Went to North Shoreline Elementary School there, 2nd grade. And funny thing about that, how do I remember 1701 Cypress Avenue? Star Trek, man! Star Trek! NCC 1701 is the Starship Enterprises. That's their moniker, the name. So whenever we had that address, man, that's what I would tell everyone. I lived at the Enterprise House, 1701. Cool thing about that house too is that's the house. It was less than a block away from the bay, so I could get on my bicycle, run to the end of the block. I think we were like the second house down, 2nd or 3rd house down, 2nd I believe. And then if you go all the way down the other way, it's a dead end, and the bay is right there. And there's the road stops. There's a little berm, then a ditch, then a large berm where they have the bay. Where on top of that is a trail or a path, an asphalt path for bikes and trail you could jog, bicycle on. And I bicycled on that one. As a kid, I didn't bicycle on it much, but later on in my adult life there in the Bay Area, I used to bicycle that trail 10 miles a day. So it was 5 miles from my house down to the west end, and then 5 miles back, a little over 10 miles every day. Me and Uncle Tom used to ride that every day. After the 2nd grade, we moved San Mateo, North Shoreview, 1701. Okay. After that, next house. Wow, this is already a 15-minute long video. Let's see, where the hell? After San Mateo, we moved up on top, back up on top of the hill, Pacifica. I think it was Petrola. The school I went to was Petrola Heights, but I think the city was back in Pacifica. But this time we were farther down the mountain. Junipero. Damn it. I'm getting all those names wrong. Junipero's in Daly City. It's that road right there by the cemetery from El Camino Real. You go all the way up that road right there by the cemetery at El Camino Real. man, I can't remember that road's name. Anyway, you travel that road all the way up to Skyline Boulevard, and just past Skyline Boulevard, you go up and it makes a big circle. There's a big housing community up there, and that's where we lived. We lived at Trinity Court up there. A couple of the friends I had there were Richie Akers, Tommy Akers. Those were probably the two best friends we had up there. Got those guys in a picture of us. They went to, Tommy was in my Weeblos. It was in the Weeblos. My dad was my scout troop master at the time. Third grade. He that's the pictures I have of me in my Pinewood Derby car, the badass one that he made. What my dad did is he combined a Corvette, 1976 Corvette, or 74, 75 Corvette, a new Corvette, and a 1957 Chevy. We combined those two cars to make my Pinewood Derby car. And if I've edited this video, I'll throw a picture of it. It's that blue one out there. He had like a little red shield on the front of it with a red stripe going down. It got first place in design and show. Last place in performance because he had the wheels. We had cut out the cinder blocks, made covers for the wheels. So the wheels were like covered. I thought it would improve aerodynamics, but it actually kind of rubbed up against there because of the flimsy nail in the tire on there, kind of rubbed. So it wasn't fast at all, but damn, it looked really, really cool. And I kept that fucker for a long, long time. When we had our bronzing business, wow, that was in back upon the hill in Pacifica again, but in a different spot. And that's when we had our trophy company. One of my dad's first companies he started, Griffith & Sons Trophy and Engraving. And we ended up taking that Pinewood Derby car and gold plating it and made a little trophy out of it. It was one of my dad's first things he tried to do. He also dyed I had a pair of old cowboy boots, baby cowboy boots. And in fact, this ties right into where we're at in my life story here with the third grade, going to third grade there in North Shoreview Elementary, second grade. I never had shoes, man. I always wore cowboy boots all the time since I was a little baby. So we would play kickball in second grade, and the kids were worried that I had the pointy cowboy boots. I still do, and they were afraid my pointy cowboy boots were going to pop the rubber ball. So I would have to take my boots off. And then, of course, I couldn't run. I couldn't kick very good. And those boots weren't really meant for running on the asphalt anyway, which was our playground. So had a friend of mine felt sorry for me. He said, Dickie, because that's what I went back then. He says, I got an extra pair of old tennis shoes. If you want, I'll bring them in for you. And I was like, hell yeah. I never had a pair of tennis shoes, man. I'll take them. Bring in your old tennis shoes. So he brought in these old pair of Converse. Old pair of low top Converse, I think they were. And recess came. I take my boots off, put these tennis shoes on, and I realized, second grade, I don't know how to tie my fucking shoes. You know how embarrassed I was to have my friend. I had to tell my friend that brought me the shoes. Dude, I've never had shoes. I've always had boots. I've never had shoes. Can you tie my shoes for me? So he tied my shoes, went to recess, and played kickball, came back in, and put my boots back on after that. And went home and learned to tie my damn shoes. I was so embarrassed, man. It was one of my most embarrassing moments. So if I ever say I've never had an embarrassing moment, yeah, that is one of them. I'm probably sure I'll reflect upon a few more. But yeah, second grade, learned how to tie my shoes. So, and it was the old style too, the loop, wrap around, running through the hole, tie down. My daughter taught me how to tie them with the two loops and then just tie a knot. So however you tie your shoes, whatever's easiest for you, that's, use that. So where are we at? Third grade. Third grade. Oh yeah, third grade. Up on the hill from San Mateo. We were up on the hill there, Trinity Park, Trinity Court. Went to third grade there. Fourth grade. Wow, fourth grade. Actually, I went to 2 different places in third grade. Because we did go to that other Trinity Court. The other house is in between 4th Street. We moved up on the hill where we had the fire. We moved. It's not before Trinity Court. This is still up in Pacifica. I don't think it's not off of Manor. It's like the next major street off of Manor, and then the next major street after that is the one going past the cemetery up the hill to Petrola Heights. Yeah, that house is where Shannon's friends, we were moving from that house over to Trinity Court, and Shannon's friends broke into the house and started a freaking fire. So, and that's the house where we had the trophy engraving shop, all that stuff. My dad had a Marine Corps crest with 2 swords in it, and those kids had stolen the swords, and all we had was the crest left. Oh man, what else at that place? A lot of cool, man, I had a great Christmas at that house too. That was the Christmas we got G.I. Joes, and I remember it was before Christmas started. We had gotten these. I talked my mom into buying me a G.I. Joe, me and Shannon, and they were the big G.I. Joes. It was the first generation one. Man, you know how much these things are worth now? First generation G.I. Joe, not the Kung Fu Grip. That wasn't until later. Didn't even have the beard. It was just a plain Joe. And there was like maybe 3 or 4 of them. They had like different hairstyles, different hair color, blonde, brunette, brown. Anyway, we got the G.I. Joes. We got 2 different ones. And I remember coming home, we were playing with the G.I. Joes, and my dad come home from work. And caught us playing with these G.I. Joes. And we're like, Dad, check it out, Army, G.I. Joe. All right, first of all, G.I. Joe is Army. All right? Straight up. My dad's a fucking Marine. Marine is a Marine. It's an elite force. Army is basic. Everybody can get into the Army. Not everyone can become a Marine. A Marine is a title. Army is just, you know, you go in. You have to earn the title of a Marine. You can't, you don't earn anything in the Army except if you're an elite force, Green Beret, Special Forces, things like that. All Marines are considered Special Forces as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, we'll get into all that Marine stuff later. That'll probably be a whole nother video. In fact, I might do it right after. Oh, this is already going to be too long. Alright, anyway, let's get through this shit. So we were at that house that burned down up on the hill. We were moving from there to Trinity Court. And that was there in 3rd grade. And then in the middle of the year, we switched over to 3rd grade there. And also 4th grade at Trinity Court. So I did a little 3rd grade and 4th grade at Trinity Court. Petrola Heights was the school. Mr. Green was the principal, and that's that. 4th grade, yeah, 4th grade there. Then that's all the houses in California from when I began. 1975, I think is that. This is about the 1975-ish, and my dad had quit. Or my dad had started taking classes in, he had started showing an interest in law enforcement. We would watch cop shows, you know, Adam 12, Fish, T.J. Hooker, oh, that's maybe a little later, stuff like that, you know, cop shows. So my dad had an interest in the police department. He started taking courses, went to a college course. He went on a couple of ride-alongs with the Highway Patrol, Sheriff's Department, and the local PD. He ultimately was trying to get into the Highway Patrol. Wanted to be a CHP, chippy. My mom wasn't going to have that. She was like, "There is no way I'm going to have you out there on the streets in the city, California, big city." So my mom at the time was working for the post office. They were both making really, really good money. That's why we had such good Christmases. And I remember them fighting a lot all the time, over stupid shit. I never really got involved, didn't listen. It wasn't my place. I'm just a kid. Whenever they would fight so much, like in the 74, 75, they were about to get a divorce. And my dad also showing this interest in law enforcement, all that. So in order to save his marriage and still be a cop, they decided to move back to their home, my father's hometown in Colorado, a little town called Lamar, southeastern corner. And he could be a small town police officer, and my mom could become a homemaker. That would, it's a nice small town. We moved back to Lamar in 1970, 75, 76. I know we were there in 76 because that was the bicentennial. I remember the wagon train coming through. 1976 wagon train rolled through town. I can remember, and wow, I think that's the year we had that big dust storm, or 76 or 77. There was a gigantic dust bowl. 3 days straight, the sky was orange, straight up orange. They didn't cancel school or nothing, but it was like a dust storm. And we get dust storms here in Arizona too, haboobs. But they don't last but, an hour, if that. This one lasted 3 fucking days, man. 3 days the sky was orange. Dust everywhere in the house. I remember my grandmother dusting, and then you could see where the dust had settled over the dust where you had dusted, if that makes any sense. So dust would settle. You would dust. More dust would settle. You would dust, but you could see the the pilings of the different layers of the dust as it would accumulate over the days. Yeah, it was horrible. Anyway, went to 5th grade there. My teacher there in Lamar, her name was Miss Nevius. Weird thing is, Miss Nevius is the same 5th grade teacher that my aunt had. I'm sure, and my Uncle Tom. My Aunt Jackie probably had her too. So that would be me, Aunt Jackie, Uncle Tom, and Aunt Ray. All have the same 5th grade teacher. My 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Goodwin, and also Mr. Skaggs. And Mr. Skaggs was a Mr. Skaggs was kind of cool in a way. He was a bald-headed dude. I can remember sitting in Mr. Skaggs' class cutting up, and I would have my watch on. And I sat next to the window, and the sun would shine in the window in the afternoon. And it would reflect off of my watch. And as Mr. Skaggs had his head down, was grading papers on his desk, I would get my watch to reflect the sun and shine it off of his head and make his head look really, really shiny or really, really light, because the watch head I have was a little Casio watch. It was a little square head. It made a little square reflection on his head, and just at the right angle it was at, it made it look like it was really super shiny or really super white. And people would start laughing and cracking up. And of course, all I had to do to stop it was to flick my wrist real quick, So nobody ever caught on who it was was doing it that I can remember. All I know is that people would see me doing it, or see me, catch me doing it, and laugh about it. So it's actually kind of one of those little class clown things I would do. And oh man. Anyway, I also that was 5th or 6th grade there. Miss Goodwin, Mr. Skaggs, still in Lamar. We lived at a little house. My grandmother lived over on 7th Avenue, and when we had first moved there, we also moved just a few doors down on 7th Avenue, 917, 920, 7th Avenue, something like that. Grandma and Grandpa were 811 South 7th. We were 918, 920 South 7th. 906 South 7th. We actually had 2 houses there. We had 908 and 906. 906 were the, it was like 906 and a half. It was an empty lot right there next to us, but it had a couple of small houses in the back that we rented out. Little 2-room houses, badass little things. That's a little studio house. Doc Johnson lived right on the corner there too. I'd go and steal his plums or pick his plums from him. Sorry, Doc. Yeah, I stole your plums. Only what I could eat, though, dude. Only what I could eat. And oh man, what was that old lady's on the other corner there? She had the peach orchard. We used to help her go and do her peaches. She was an elderly lady there. Of course, Mrs. Mace's house was across the street from Grandma's house. Mrs. Mace was the old lady that lived out there. She was a, I thought she was a witch, but that's what I thought she was. But anyway, after she had passed, no one lived in her house for the longest time. It just kind of got run down, and people would break in. We'd go over there. We thought it was haunted. We'd go over there and try to, as kids, try to go and see who was brave enough to go all the way into Mrs. Mace's house. And then once we were brave enough to go into the house, after a couple of years, don't get me wrong, it took years for me to get over that fear. But yeah, once we got inside the house, and we had the key to the front door, but kept it locked. Anyway, once we did go into the house, got comfortable with that, then it was, who's brave enough to go to the basement? You got to go to that, down the basement into the cellar, touch the back wall, and then run out. And yeah, man, it was scary, scary, scary. Some badass glass. I remember it wasn't stained glass in her house, but it was that etched glass windows that they had. Freaking, she had a beautiful home. I remember an old Model T car in that garage forever. If I would have had a fucking brain, I would have snagged that car a long time ago and sold it, restored it, drove it, whatever. But I was a kid. Nobody thinks about that shit. Also, remember during those years, there was times in Lamar. Not only would I fly back to Lamar and spend my summers there with my grandmother, grandfather, and cousins. When we finally moved there, that's when I kind of realized what snow was. California, we never had snow. When I moved to Lamar, there was like weather. There was like seasons, and things got cold, and the summers were hot, and in California, it was like the same shit all the time. Sometimes you had to wear a jacket, and sometimes you didn't if it was nice. It never got above 80, never got below 60. 55, never got below freezing for sure. So, California, I was kind of a spoiled boy. In Colorado, I froze my freaking ass off. I learned real quick that how to bundle up and how to survive in the snow, literally. So we were in Lamar for a while. We lived at 906 and 908, and then we moved over to 8th Street. Had a 2-story house there. It was really cool. Had a laundry chute in it and stuff like that. 3-story actually, because of the basement. And had a laundry chute from the top level where my room was. Just opened that, threw it down, went down the laundry chute to the basement. Cool as hell. Big house too. Loved it. It was nice. got my bicycle at that house, my Huffy there. Oh, I forgot to mention my other bike, my Schwinn, and when I was in San Mateo, California. That's the bike that got stolen in 2nd grade. It was a yellow, had the 3-speed, the tall sissy bar with the slick on the back, man. You know which one I'm talking about, the 3-speed shifter. Yeah, got stolen. I think some 6th grader stole it from me. Went to the police department, everything, couldn't find it. Anyway, where was I? Back in Lamar, over on 8th Avenue or 8th Street. I got my bicycle. We bought it. Walmart had just opened up out there, and this was 1977. Yeah, 77. I think. And now Walmart opened up in Lamar, shutting down the other big stores like Gibson's and whatnot. And I remember when we went out there, one of the first things I always wanted was a bicycle. They had the black number 12 Huffy motocross bicycle. My dream bike. Man, I think I was 12 years old. My 12th birthday, my dad bought that bike for me. I think I was in 7th grade. Yeah, 7th grade. That's the same year I broke my leg in football. Teacher had to carried me off the field like a baby. You would think, we're out there playing football, but I get smashed from the side and break a leg. You think they bring the stretcher out, like you see in football games. They bring the stretcher out, load you up on the stretcher, take you off the field. No. Not Rich. I get carried off the field in the arms of my coach like a fucking baby. Not only that, they take me out to the hospital. I get my leg x-rayed. Get taken back home. Anyhow, didn't finish out the season of my 7th grade lightweight football career. Kind of put a little bad taste in my mouth for sports. I'm a little guy. Can't play sports. I get hurt. Broke a leg. Who else knows? Maybe could get concussion. Who knows? Anyway, so I didn't go out for sports after that much. Track, field, stuff like that. But never did go out for football again. You know what? I think it was I'm the littlest guy, and those big motherfuckers are just like, let's get the little dude. Let's fuck him up. But maybe that's just me with my little man complex. But yeah, 7th grade football. Got my bicycle that year, and I rode that fucking thing everywhere. I do remember riding my bicycle out to Boys Paradise, is what it was called. It was out by the college there in Lamar, just south of the park. And there's a canal that runs out there. And you couldn't get away with this kind of shit in nowadays. What I would do is I'd take my BB gun with me, and I'd load, strap it to my back, and ride out there on my bicycle with this BB gun on my back, and I'd shoot freaking birds, little small game, mostly rodents and mice, or some rats. If I would find a barn or a house or something that had rats in it, that's where I would go and practice. That's what I would call my hunting, is I would go and shoot rats with my BB gun. I know it sounds kind of stupid, but hey, it was actually fun for me. Actually, the funnest thing was out there in Boys Paradise, there was a canal, and part of the canal had dried up, so it made like a little pool. And inside that pool, there was some fish. There was probably maybe a dozen, at least a dozen fish in there. And that's where I discovered that it's as fun as shooting fish in a barrel. And if you've never have, I personally have not shot fish in a barrel, but have shot fish in a very small and shallow pond, where basically they can't get away. And I know it may sound cruel to you, but yeah, that's what I did. I got my little BB gun. I would shoot these fish in this little pond and not eat them. The things kids do. But yeah, And contrasting in Lamar, I remember 108-degree temperatures in the summer. I remember being out there in the front yard of my grandmother's house, putting water on that air conditioner that would shock the shit out of you if you touched it. We'd go out there and we'd put water on the air conditioner, and my grandmother's out there. She's like, "Get your ass back in there. It's 108 degrees outside. Don't be standing out there all day." So it was actually pretty funny. I've been shocked by that air conditioner too. I remember one time, oh shit, I think we were playing baseball, and it was like third base, and I was like standing next to it, and I leaned up against it. All I did was put one hand on it, and I couldn't get my hand off. So I put my hand on it. I couldn't get my hand off until I touched it with this one. When I put this one on it, I could move this one. And I couldn't pull this one off. But as soon as I put this one on it, I could move. And I'm getting shocked this whole time. So this was like happening like, And finally I just had to throw myself off of it. And it shocked the shit out of me. The worst I'd ever been shocked in my life. Didn't lose consciousness or anything, but man, I went screaming to Grandma like you wouldn't believe. Grandma! Grandma! Oh, man. Alright, so that takes us up to 8th Street in Lamar. After 8th Street, we moved over up onto 12th Street. I had a house up over there. After that, my dad was still a police officer there in Lamar. He loved it, man. My dad loves law enforcement. That's where I actually started to go on ride-alongs with him as well. Piqued my interest in law enforcement as well. Some of the ride-alongs that I went along with him with weren't very exciting or anything like that. Some of the stories he would tell about the drunk shitting in his boots so he didn't have to shit on the sidewalk kind of stuff is funny. Don't know if I'll get into some more of those stories or not. Maybe if I get onto a tangent about my dad. But I'm trying to go through my history here of where I live before this hits an hour. So, let's see. So after Lamar, we moved to Texas. Actually, I take that back. After Lamar, my dad didn't get fired from his job, but he was asked to find another job when he more or less threatened the assistant district attorney. What happened was Dad was called to a bar, prostitution. ADA was there, the assistant district attorney for the county was there in the bar. My dad was going to prosecute or arrest the prostitute that was in the bar soliciting prostitution, obviously. The assistant district attorney said no. He stepped in and said, "I don't want you to arrest this woman. Even if you do arrest her, I will dismiss the charges." So my dad was like, if you're telling me this, you're going to interfere in this, interfere in my duty, then we'll discuss that later. My dad arrested her, took her to jail. The assistant district attorney followed up on his threat and, talked to the chief. Chief pulled my dad in, said, "Hey, look, this case has been dismissed. You need to find another job," basically. So my dad went from a city policeman, patrolman. They also had jurisdiction in the whole county at that point too. They were deputized as deputies in the county as law enforcement personnel for the city. So it was kind of a backup thing. City cops back up the deputies, and since the town falls within the sheriff's jurisdiction, he also has precedence over the town as well. It kind of splits hairs there. Anyway, after Lamar, we moved to Cripple Creek, Colorado. And so we were in Lamar from 75, 76 to 78, 79, or 78. 1978, we moved up to Cripple Creek, up in the mountains, west side, Pikes Peak. In between Pikes Peak is in between Cripple Creek and Colorado Springs. There's a couple cool little towns there. There's Manitou Springs. Legend around Manitou Springs real quick. Manitou were supposed to be the wolf men, werewolves of the Indians. A whole tribe of Indian called the Manitou were supposedly living in this area, and this is where they hung out, Manitou Springs. And fact check me on that. Let me know what y'all think, or if you've heard the same thing. Anyway, that's what I heard, that they were not necessarily skinwalkers, but they were the actual wolfmen. Or maybe that's what it was at the time. I didn't know about skinwalkers, that term, back in the 70s like that. So that's what they call wolfmen, Indian wolfmen, Manitou, the Manitou in Manitou Springs, Colorado. Anyway, up in Cripple Creek is a gold mining town. There's gold. They paved the streets with turquoise. So whenever it rains up there, my brother and I would go out and look for raw turquoise in the ditches as the streams, as the rain would fall. It would expose the old turquoise asphalt that was paved out there. My brother had a little Pringles can full of turquoise. I had a small box. I didn't have as much as he had, because he had some big chunks. He found some good pieces. I was always looking for the smaller ones. You can make something for a ring or a necklace, something like that. Wow, a lot of cool stuff happened up in Cripple Creek. The whole town is really an awesome place to live. Back in the 70s, I hear nowadays it may not be so cool. I hear there's a lot of crackheads and shit up there with the casinos and whatnot. When I lived there were two policemen. One of them was Walt Derby. Really nice guy. We got to know his family pretty well. The other guy, I can't remember his name, but he's an older guy. I'm 100% sure both those guys are probably passed. For sure the old man. But anyway, yeah, there were only two police officers, day shift and night shift, and usually Sundays you just call the sheriff, and if so, they radio each other. So everybody has radios. All the cops do. Both cops, sheriff's department. So everybody monitors what's going on. So it's not like there was a lack of law enforcement or anything like that. It was just kind of surreal. A town with only two police officers, city police, maybe half a dozen, 8, maybe 10 deputies for the whole county of Teller. It's the smallest county in Colorado. And I remember the sheriff at the time was Sheriff Shoemaker. And I remember summer of 1970, or winter of 1978, 79, 78, I think. Town got snowed in. Freaking like 3 feet of snow. You couldn't bust the town's school, Cripple Creek Victor High School. Well, actually, it's just Cripple Creek Victor School. Is K through 12, 2 towns, all in the same building. In my 8th grade class, because I went 7th grade in Lamar, my 8th grade class up in Cripple Creek, there were probably maybe, 15, not under 20, I would say, under 20 students in my 8th grade class in the whole town, and two towns, Cripple Creek and Victor. So spent half a year up there in Cripple Creek. 79 we moved. The reason we left Cripple Creek is the Sheriff Shoemaker, his brother ran a stop sign. My dad gave him a ticket because we didn't have a stoplight. We had one stoplight in the town, and it just blinked. It just blinked. So you would come to a stop and go. It was like a four-way stop. Now I think they just put up stop signs, because I looked at videos lately. I didn't see the stop sign or the stoplight. So now they don't even have one stoplight in the whole town. Where was I going with all that? Oh yeah, anyway, we left out there. The reason my dad had to leave, sheriff's brother ran a stop sign, gave him a ticket, was told, dismiss the ticket or you're fired or whatever. So basically he was not fired, but told to find another job, because he wouldn't dismiss the ticket. So we were living in a trailer house up there, and we had to put a wood-burning stove in this trailer house, which is awesome. That's where we had to go out and gather wood, chop wood. Did a lot of hunting, outdoor stuff. That's where I learned how to dress a deer, elk. Where I learned to skin rabbits. I'd take my 22 out. We had this ditch walking out past the school and past the hospital, and it turned into just a runoff ditch, about 6 foot on both sides, and it ran all the way to the dump. And what I would do is I would walk in that ditch with my 22, me and my friends, and we'd go hunting. And there's prairie dog fields on both sides. So we'd walk the ditch a ways, we'd pop up, look for the prairie dogs, coordinate our shots, and try to shoot at the same time to get a shot off on these prairie dogs. And we'd shoot a couple of prairie dogs, duck back down into the ditch, walk a ways more, because the prairie dogs will all duck down, they'll stay hidden for a while, and then they'll slowly start popping back up one by one, and they'll stand up there, and prairie dogs stand about that tall for a good sized one, and again, I'm sorry, you guys may think I'm cruel. Prairie dogs are varmints. Okay, you don't want prairie dogs. In fact, I was told the farmers there would actually pay us to go kill these prairie dogs. We did it for sport, just as we were walking on our way out to the dump to do some more target practice. But yeah, we pick off those prairie dogs on both sides of the ridge on our way to the dump and on the way back. When we got to the dump, what we would hunt were mostly ravens, and we never killed them. Never could kill them. But they were big black birds, man. They had to be ravens. I thought they were crows, but they're way bigger than crows. Might be turkey vultures. They were all black to me. Turkey vultures here have a white across the inner portion of their wings. Maybe it's a northern turkey vulture, different species. I'm not sure. But I remember shooting that sucker and flying right overhead, and I remember my bullets hitting it in the chest. Bam! Seeing feathers kind of poof, poof. Couldn't knock that bird out of the sky. So I was telling my buddies, I'm going to have to bring the 30-30 next time to get that fucking bird out of the sky. 22 ain't cutting it. Wasn't cutting it. Anyway, we left Cripple Creek 1979. 1979, 1980. So, I was in 8th grade up there. I didn't finish the 8th grade there. We moved to Delhart, Texas, in 1979, 1980. I finished off 8th grade in Texas, 8th grade and 9th grade there in Delhart, and met some good people there, man. That's where I started my underage drinking. Had some good friends. When I moved to Texas, strange thing about Texas, man. Texans are a very proud state, first of all. I ain't gonna lie. It's probably the most racist state I ever been to as well. They used that N-word freely back then in the 70s, 80s. It was very, very common. Proud, racist, yeah. But not, I wouldn't say racist to the point that I saw. a lot of name calling, and that's about as far as it went. I don't think, for me personally, I never saw any like racism as far as the bad things happening to people. Oh, well, let's go beat that fucker up, or let's, you know. Actually, it was more or less the opposite. Well, I'll get to Pampa here in a bit about what going on over there. But anyway, in Delhart, 8th grade in Delhart, 8th grade, started 9th grade there, or 8th and 9th grade in Delhart. Larry Robertson there, he recently just passed. Rest in peace, Larry, miss you. Him and I, along with a couple of other cowboy friends, John Anderson, Larry Perch, that's what we called him, Perch. But real quickly about Larry's family. Larry, we called him Perch. Why? Because he didn't like being called Larry. And the reason he didn't like being called Larry, because it had of his family. His mama, or his older sister, Mary. His other older sister, or Mary, Terry. And then it was Larry. His little brother, Jerry. And I think there was another one. So it was like Mary, Larry, Terry, Jerry, and Paul, or something like that. But anyway, we called Larry Perch. And we all hung around together. That's where I learned to dip tobacco. Changed my CB handle whenever we got that. We were really into CBs in Texas as well. Not only them, but back in Colorado too, when my dad was a police officer. That's when we first got into it. But in Delhart, we moved there. We lived on Trinidad Street, right there next to and we also lived with my in-laws, or not my in-laws obviously, but my aunt and uncle, Aunt Marjorie and Uncle Lloyd, and also Uncle Bill and Aunt Ray. They all lived right there. Actually, they lived right next door to each other, you know, back to back. And so we stayed with them. We got a house just right down the street from them, not less than a block. So all of our family was really close together. Not only that, but we had extended family just down the street from there. You know, Lee and Armilda both lived just down the street from there. Donna and Vindy, all of them were over there as well. So we all lived in Delhart together. And it's funny because we all knew each other in Lamar. Of course, we're all family. And the Simses and everybody up there as well. So whenever we moved to Lamar, the Simses and the Griffiths and the Bowens and we were all there. So we stayed there a year or two. My dad was driving a truck in Delhart. Wanted to get back into law enforcement real bad. My mom didn't want to have anything to do with that. So we moved to Pampa. And the reason we moved over there is because finally my dad was able to get a job back in law enforcement. So we moved to Pampa. I went to 9th grade there. Oh, no, I finished 9th grade in Delhart. Went to 10th, 11th, and my senior year there in Pampa. Now that it's about 1981, 82. 1981, I think it's when we moved to Pampa. We lived at 530 North Gray Street, right there across from a church. That's where I met my first wife, Ann, Stephanie's mom, and her family. Awesome people. Love them all still. I don't know what they think of me, but for me, I have no hard feelings against anyone. Things happen. That's the way life goes. Things that happened in Pampa. Yeah, more underage drinking. Let me scroll back to that real quick, touching upon the underage drinking with Larry. Larry looked like an old man. We could drive right up to, and he had a full beard in 9th grade. He could drive up to the drive-through window. He put on his cowboy hat, his Carhartt jacket, drive up to the drive-through window at a liquor store and just get his beer. So what we normally do is we'd get a couple of 6-packs of beer, a 6-pack for him, 6-pack for me. Because really, to be honest, that's all it really took for me to get drunk was a 6-pack. And we'd do some underage drinking. Our underage drinking, what we do, we go out on a dirt road next to a field, back in somewhere, so we're not right on the dirt road itself, off of a little farmer road or whatever. Anyway, you back in. If there's a couple corn rows or something, even better, so you don't see any headlights coming. But you just sit there and drink until you do see headlights coming. And then when you see the headlights coming, you hide until they pass by, or hopefully it ain't a cop getting nosy. Never was caught. Always had an awesome time with Larry underage drinking, doing our CB stuff. We had a radio club, React back in the day. We were the local React emergency response people, things like that. He also got me interested in ham radio. He had his ham radio license and had built a ham radio, and I was really interested in radios and CBs, single sideband, all of that stuff. We had a couple of friends that were actually really involved in that, and even got one of the police officers there that was also a part of our club. Anyway, after Delhart was Pampa. Pampa was, like I said, met my wife. Really good friends there. Best friends in Pampa for me, Debbie Bowers and Jody Miller, Earl, couple of other people there. I know this video is getting over an hour now, but this is one of those stories that I've been waiting to tell. It's an hour into it. I'm just now going to get to this one. It does involve underage drinking in Pampa. It's kind of a long story. Jody, I'm gonna actually cut this little section out and send to you, because I want you to hear the story. Maybe you can vouch for me and send me back what you think of that night. I know you were there. I think Earl was with us. Maybe somebody else. But I want to touch upon a story that happened in Pampa. Underage drinking. So first of all, when you're in Texas, and I wouldn't say I would say in Delhart, I was my cowboy. That was my cowboy days. Dipping, cowboying, learning the cowboy, how to become a cowboy, basically, because you're in Texas, you're a cowboy. So I kind of cut my teeth over there on cowboyism. When I moved to Pampa, though, I still cowboy, still Texas, yes, but the people that were hanging around there, Jody Miller, those guys, Mark Hernandez, those guys weren't cowboys. Jody? Yeah, you know what, Jody? Yeah, Jody was. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Jody, I'm sorry. I would call Jody a cowboy, especially his little sister. She freaking barrel champion, man. She'd ride those barrels in the rodeo. Anyhow, this particular night, we have a mutual friend. His name is Jerry Howard. I didn't know if I was going to use his real name or not, but yeah, fuck it. I think he's actually passed at this time, if I heard right. But anyway, Jerry Howard, man, that dude had a Dodge pickup. We call this Dodge pickup Big D. Okay, so no sexual connotation, but Big D for Big Dodge. It was a Dodge Ram pickup, tough as hell. Anyway, Jerry was one of those guys, fun fucker to be around, man. Just a good old boy. Kind of hippie-ish, cowboy, hippie, Kid Rock-ish, that kind of guy. We'd go over to his shop. His family had a shop, badass shop. We'd play Atari and shit at the shop. His family actually lived at the shop. And I didn't figure out really why until a little later. The cool thing about Jerry's dad, while at the shop, his dad had built this trike. And he had actually built a trike out of a refrigerator. He had the back end of a refrigerator, put the seat inside the refrigerator, wheels, trike, but a refrigerator was the actual cab of the trike. Kind of cool. Chopper trike. We play Atari over there, video games. That's kind of where I got my introduction to Atari, home Atari stuff like that. He had the whole freaking selection. Every game you could, I mean, racks on the wall, racks of games. So we play every day, all the time, lots of games. Anyway, we do some underage drinking. To get our booze over in Pampa, we had to go over, and like I said, in Texas they use the N-word quite openly. Anyway, we would go over to the N-word town. I'll just refer to it as N-town. But in N-town, it was kind of weird too. Not too many people wanted to go over to the bootlegger because that's where underage people would go to get their liquor, their booze, liquor, anything, really anything you wanted. Fuck, you probably get drugs there too. But anyhow, here's how it all went down over at the old bootlegger. For me, most of the folks were kind of leery about going to the bootlegger. For me, after the first time, it was smooth sailing. And after the first time I'll tell you about, and a few times after. But after that, me and bootlegger were always cool. So what happened was, we couldn't find anybody to buy us beer. Usually you sit outside, or you know somebody will get you some beer, some liquor, whatever you guys want. We couldn't find anybody, so everybody's like, oh shit, we gotta go over to end town, go to the bootlegger. I'd never been there. I've had black friends and stuff like that. Got another story I'll tell you about my buddy Pete stealing shit from the liquor store. But anyhow, on this night, we couldn't find anybody to buy liquor. We go over to N-town, bootleggers. We roll up there to the bootlegger's house, and out on the front porch are two transvestites, two black dudes in total drag, flamboyant as ever, everything, wigs, the scarf around the neck, the whole 9 yards, high heel, all that. So I was told, just go inside, buy beer. They gave me 20 bucks. That'll get us a case of beer. I go inside, I walk up the steps. The two trannies stop me. I'm from San Francisco, the Bay Area, man. Trannies don't fucking affect me. I have a gay uncle. I'm not tripping. Hardly at all. It was a shock a little bit, yeah, because I hadn't seen it in a while. Seeing these two grown men out there. Yeah, it was a shock, but it didn't really faze me. And they asked me what I was there for. I said, I'm here to see bootlegger. I flashed the 20. I need beer. I need a case of beer. So said, she opened up the door, told me to go on in. I walk on in. She closed the door behind me. Inside, it's like out of a freaking movie, man. Straight up inside, there's an old man sitting in a recliner, just off to the left-hand side there. Off to the right, there's a couch, a couple of couches, maybe 5 or 6 old men sitting there, a couple of old ladies sitting there, another couch on this side where the old man or the bootlegger guy is over, another guy or two over there sitting there smoking cigarettes, cigars. It's all smoky, TV and music going on in the background, and I walk in, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. Bootlegger sits up in his recliner. Come on over, what you need? I walk on over there and said, hey, I introduced myself, I'm Richard. And my friend said I could come in here and buy some liquor. He goes, I'm the man, what you want? I said, I'm looking for a case of beer. He said $20, put it right there on the table. Threw the $20 on the table, and I was like, yeah. He goes like, well, we'll go right on over there, and he points on over to the back room there. I walk into what's the kitchen, and inside his kitchen, it's like 7-Eleven, man. He's got those big double glass doors that you open up like this, and it's stacked full of beer, all kinds of beer, Budweiser, Coors, Lone Star, Miller, MJD. You know, you got all these different. I think I grabbed a case of Budweiser. Anyway, I grabbed a case of beer. And to be honest, it was just my first time. I just grabbed a case, picked it up, and I was out of there as quick as I fucking could be. Got back to the car, and I know for sure it was Jody Miller. I believe Earl was with us. Jerry was with us, and I believe Jerry's little brother. I'm not sure, but there was a fourth person there. Okay, so here's where we are. And I'm sorry this is going to drag out, but it is. And we got our beer. We're drinking. Boom, 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 boom. I call my mom. Hey, Mom, Dad, I've been drinking. I'm going to spend the night at Jody's house. I'm not coming home. I'm going to spend the night. Okay, fine. Spend the night at Jody's house. Done. Out all night. Jody, hey, I'm going to spend the night at Richard's house, blah, blah, blah. All right. We're out all night. We're out. I think Earl called his mom, Daddy, I'm spending the night at Richard and Jody's house. Blah, we're out. All of us. And so, starts snowing. And it starts getting real fucking cold. And we were just going to stay out all night and pull over on the side of the road and sleep in the car. Wouldn't be the first time we've actually done that. But this time we're with Jerry, and Jerry says, hell, let's just go over to my house. He's got the house, not at the shop, but they have a house. And Jerry says, let's go over to my house. You know, it's obviously going to be warmer there. So we're like, fuck yeah, anything keep warmer, right? And we get over to Jerry's house. And I should have known this was how it all started. So for me, I think I had 1 or 2 6-packs left. So out of the case, I grabbed the 2 6-packs in my hand, and we're all 4 going in the house. Jerry opens up the door to the house. As he opens up the screen door, we're all standing there. He opens up the screen door. This gigantic, I mean gigantic fucking cockroach. He opens up, and it's wintertime, so it's, you know, it's icy right there. And he opens up the screen door, and there's snow up. You know, it's been shoveled and all, but I can see the concrete, and I can see the snow on the side. But he opened up that screen door. This fucking giant cockroach must have been just sitting right there on the inside of the thing. Anyway, he turned, he started running. You know, he had just turned like this, like gotten long ways. I fucking stepped on that sucker with my boot, and guts shot out both sides of my boot. That's how big that cockroach was. I should have known then. Should have known. Don't go any further. Don't do it. But it's cold. We got beer. I just want to get drunk and crash. We're already tipsy as fuck. So, here's where the story really begins. Jerry, first one there. I think I'm right behind him. Jody and the other guys behind me. Anyway, Jerry opens the door. Pushes open the door. Because shit probably fell out behind him. Anyhow, pushes open the door. Before I even look inside, the smell hits you. The smell. Whoa. Whoa. Hits you. You go back, man, because it's bad. It's fucking bad. It gets worse, don't worry. So the smell hits you. It's cold. I'm drunk. I want to get drunker. I want to crash. Go inside this house. Y'all seen Hoarders on TV now? This is way, way back before Hoarders. And I don't care what episode of Hoarders you've seen. This house was worse. I'll describe it for you. First of all, walk in the door, Jerry leading. I'm following him. And the reason I'm doing this, there's a path in the house. A path where I could see most of the carpet. But from that path, about as wide as a path from a trail, maybe foot and a half wide, maybe not even that, From there to the ceiling, was piled up with clothes, garbage, furniture, trash, boots, shirts, table, bottles. You imagine it? It was in there. It was a dump. It was so bad. Y'all see that line up there where the wall and the roof meet? You can only see that in certain parts. Some parts is so high you couldn't see that. You couldn't see that where the roof and the wall met. It was just through the roof. No lie, no lie. Okay? Still not phased, right? No. Rich is tough. Rich is a tough motherfucker. Hold my breath because I'm trying to breathe in because the smell is still bad. I'm about 5 feet in on this trail behind Jerry. We're heading to the kitchen, by the way, to put the beer in the fridge. That's where we're heading. Or where I'm heading anyway. Halfway into the living room, I hear dogs. I hear 2 dogs barking. I never seen them. Never even seen them. Couldn't tell you what they looked like. I don't even know how big they were. They had to be little. I couldn't tell you what kind of dogs they were. Never ever seen them. Never ever even have any idea what kind of dogs these were. But I heard 2 dogs in there. They had trails running behind the clothes or underneath everything. They had trails back there where they could run because I could hear them running around and barking. Never seen them though. So, get by that. I get to the living room. I get to the kitchen. Now remember, I should have stopped at the cockroach. Then I should have stopped at then the smell. Then the wall. Now the 2 dogs. Finally get to the kitchen. I'm like, Jerry, I'm just going to throw these beers. I grabbed the beer, popped the beer, started drinking again. Put the other 2 6-packs I had in the fridge. And as I go to open the fridge, it's one of those old Frigidairs. You had the handle, it clicked open, boom, boom. Pulled the handle back, pulled the fridge open. No fucking lie. No fucking lie. Cascade. A cascade of maggots in this refrigerator. I opened the refrigerator. Maggots! After the smell hit me, of course, but I was immune already because of the other smell. So I barely noticed that whiff. But the maggots had cascaded out of this refrigerator. Fell off onto the ground. Maggots. I was horrified, man. I'm fucking horrified. But, Jerry, look at this shit, Jerry. Where do you want me to put these beers? In the fridge. So he goes in there and grabs them back where the meat and the maggots and all, whatever it was on that shelf. Whatever it was on that shelf. He just reached in there with his hand and wiped it off. Wiped it off. It all fell onto the floor. So I put the beers in there. He walked away. So I put the beers up in the... I put the beers in the fridge. I got mine that's open. I'm drinking it. I go to shut the fridge. And the fridge won't close because of all the maggots and the meat in front of it. So I had to get my leg, a cowboy boot, scrape it out of the way, the maggots, scoop them to the side. I didn't clean them up. Hell no, I ain't cleaning them up. I left them fucking there. Hell yeah. Scooped them over to the side, shut that fucking refrigerator, made sure it was locked, closed, keep my beer cold. Left them there. Alright. Should have stopped then. Should have stopped then. Rich is a damn tough motherfucker. I ain't letting no meat, maggoty meat, and 2 dogs I don't even see, and this horrid smell, and this trash dump of the house ain't gonna stop me. I'm already drunk. I'm tipped. I can't go home. So what do? I'm like, all right, Jerry. All right, man. I'm tired. I'm drunk. I can't go home. We're here. Yeah. It's warmer than outside. But dude, it stinks like a motherfucker. I mean, it stinks bad. Like the worst homeless man you ever smelled. It's that bad. And it ain't going away. So I'm like, Jerry, we got to do something about this smell. And Jody, tell me if you remember this, man. Believe me, tell me if you remember this. What does Jerry Howard do? He picks up a rag, a random rag out of these piles of clothes in every room. Because now we moved from the kitchen, we're heading to the back bedroom where we're supposedly going to be sleeping. And he assures us rooms are much cleaner than the living room. He assures us rooms are much cleaner. And sure enough, yeah, they were. They were. Anyway, Jerry, the house, it smells really bad. I don't know what we can do. So what do? We get back to the bedroom. And the smell is so bad. Jerry, what are we going to do? It's fucking blizzard outside because it's snowing now. He opens the fucking window to air out the house. Opens the window. And of course, we're all up by the window trying to get the fresh air. But that ain't working. So what does he do for an instant? He's got some WD-40. Starts spraying an old shirt with this WD-40. Breaks out his lighter and lights the shirt on fire. Wraps it around a freaking piece of stick and is waving this flaming shirt that is now smoking because it's been drenched with WD-40. Smells like an oil fire, and that's what we're using to cover the smell of the room. Rich is a tough guy. He can handle that. Jerry, alright, we got the window open. We got the incense burning. WD-40 on a shirt. Could have been polyester. Anyhow, I don't think it was. It was probably cotton. Anyhow, I'm fucking tired. Fucking drunk. Where am I sleeping? I don't want to sleep on the floor. The floor you can actually see in the room. So it wasn't piled up. Wasn't a trail. When we got to the hallway was pretty clear because you couldn't pile shit up in the hallway. So in the back bedroom, it was only the living room that was actually really, really bad like that. The bedrooms were fairly clear. When we made it back to the first bedroom, go down the hallway to the left, first bedroom there. That's where you open the window. There's 3 beds in there. Now that's where we're sleeping, in this room. And there's 3 beds. There's 3 of us, and Jerry had his room in the back. So there was no problem there. But I was like, okay, so what bed am I getting? So the 2 dudes, yeah, I'll take this one. Jody, I'm getting that one. But I get, no. There's fucking dog shit right in the middle of the bed that he tells me I'm going to be sleeping on. I'm like, Jerry, there is literally dog shit in the bed you want me to sleep in. He's like, yeah, no problem. What? He takes his hand, like he did in the kitchen, and flicks the fucking dog shit, because it had been there for fucking who knows how long. It was hard as hell. But yeah, he had to flick that shit off of the covers, and it fucking rolled off, flicked it off of somewhere off in the corner somewhere. Rich is a tough guy. I ain't sleeping in no shitty bed, damn it. So, I'm sorry. I have to tell. You know what? We all have a point, and I'm surprised it took that much shit to get me to get to that point. But it was at that point I think we all decided just to go sleep in the car, out in the front in the driveway of Jerry Howard's house. So, story don't end there, folks. So we're out sleeping in the car. Of course, me, I'm drunk. I pass out in the back seat of Jody's car. I think he had the old Maverick at the time, little green Maverick. And I understand during the middle of the night the police show up. I don't know how, why, what happened. I don't even remember the police showing up because I was asleep or passed out drunk. All I know is they told me that night or the next morning is that the police showed up for some reason, and I was asleep. But that's the story of Jerry Howard's house, and sorry I used his real name. If he's still alive, maybe I'll bleep it out or whatever. And I don't have any pictures of that or anything. But the only person that I said that could really vouch for it would be Jody Miller. I know for sure he was there. Earl might have been there. And I think there was another person there as well. But yeah, that was my Horton story. That's in Pampa, Texas. So after Pampa, I moved. Actually, I didn't graduate in Pampa because I went to 12th. Went up to my senior year there. But I was lacking 1/4 of a credit to freaking graduate. And I would have had to take summer school. So rather than take summer school, well, actually, you know what? I was going to go ahead and go through with it. But I actually called up my grandmother, was talking to one of my cousins up there. Her name's Kim Pretty. She's actually my cousin's cousin. She was an admin at the office there at the Lamar High School. And she just asked me, how many credits do you have? And I can't remember exactly what. I got this many credits, blah, blah, blah. And I told her how pissed I was. I'm lacking 1/4 credit fucking to graduate. And plus, as a senior, I'm going the full 8 hours a day, no half day for me, that kind of thing. And that's what I told her. And even with the full schedule, I'm still lacking 1/4 credit. And I would still be able to graduate with my class, but I would not receive my diploma until the summer when I completed the rest of the education through summer school. And that was really disappointing. And my cousin said how many credits I have, so she added it all up. She says, you have enough credits to graduate here in Lamar right now. She says, with what you have right now at the end of this semester, your credits, you will have enough to graduate. And I was like, fucking A. I'm moving to Lamar. So I talked my folks into letting me move up with my grandmother last half of my senior year so that I could graduate school. Just before that time, of course, I get my girlfriend pregnant. Bam. Now I'm up in Colorado, trying to graduate high school. Finally get graduated, and the cool thing about that was I had enough credits to graduate, but I also had enough credits where so I had to go to school the full schedule. But I got out for the last 2 hours of that schedule because I had a work detail. I actually was helping we had a Melvin school there in Lamar, and I would go over there for the last, or say I would go over there for the last 2 hours of the school hours to help out. So that was my volunteer helping out at the Melvin school. But I only went there a few times. Other than that, I just skipped and went home, started smoking pot, just go home, watch MTV at my grandma's house. So that got me out to Lamar. That was 1984. Back to Delhart, Texas, or back to Pampa, Texas in '85. Married my first wife down there, Ann. We got married and we moved back to Delhart. I moved back to Delhart in 1985, and just after Stephanie was born. I moved to Delhart, and Larry Robertson got me a job out at the XIT feedlot. XIT, big in northern Texas, X10INT, Texas, 10 in Texas. XIT was the largest ranch in Texas. You also may have heard of the King Ranch. The King Ranch is the largest ranch under fence. Largest fenced ranch in Texas. XIT Ranch was the largest unfenced ranch in Texas, which means the cattle were free roam cattle. They roamed the plains. I worked at the XIT feedlot, which is just named that. My first job out there, and people that can vouch for this that are still alive. Gene Sims, he's passed. Donnie Sims can vouch for this. Larry, he's passed. Roxanne, my cousins, they all knew I worked out there. But anyhow, I started off out there. Actually, I should have mentioned about Texas and being cowboys and all. I first started wrangling horses up in Cripple Creek. That's my first real job, handling horses, interacting with horses. Started off by volunteering to sweep out the stables, pick up the manure, brush the horses, that kind of stuff. Then they hired me, $5 a day. $5 a day. But that paid for my arcade and my lunches. So that's what I do. What I did up in Cripple Creek was I was a tour guide. We would get the horses ready in the morning, saddle them, feed them, get them all ready, and then put them out there for people to come up and rent the horses for us to take them out on tour guides. We had different types. We had a half hour, an hour, 2 hour, 5 hour. Or you can rent the horse for all day and just take it. If you went on the 30-minute ride, you got either, since I was one of the new guys, you got me, I took you out and took you around town, gave you a little spiel. Later on, I got promoted up to the 1 hour and the 2 hour rides, and those just take you a little bit longer. You go on a nice little trail ride around the Cripple Creek town, and you point out different points of interest: the Independence Gold Mine, the ore, the Molly Kathleen Gold Mine up on the hill, the narrow gauge railroads, things like that. It's a tourist trap. Still is today. Now they got casinos to take your money. For me, right there, the stables I worked at was just off of the main highway. Was actually next to a little creek, which was actually the creek where the miners were panning gold when the calf jumped over, breaking its leg. Miners saying, "This must be Cripple Creek." That's where the creek or the town got its name. I actually worked maybe 50 feet away from that creek, right where that happened, which is actually kind of cool. I've gold panned in that same creek too. You do get gold out of it still to this day, but you ain't getting much. It's specks, very, very specks of gold. But there is still gold there to this day, and there is still active gold mining down in those mountains, just right outside of Cripple Creek. So that's where I got my equestrian training, and that just means horsemanship. So whenever I moved to Texas, we did cowboy stuff. I already had knowledge of horses, brushing them, feeding them, taking care of them, doctoring them, those types of things. So whenever I got hired on at XIT, the first thing I was hired on for was the job title, cowboy. My job title up at Cripple Creek was wrangler. So I can honestly say I have been a wrangler, and I have really been a cowboy. Now the job title of cowboy means you are on horseback, working at the feedlot. But what we do is we take the cows from one pen and wrangle them into another pen. And that's basically all the cowboys do. You take cows from one pen to another pen. One pen to another pen, one pen to another. Very, very monotonous, very boring. The cows don't usually get away. Everybody thinks fenced in. It's fairly easy, monotonous job. The bad thing about it is when I was doing it, it was in the wintertime. Snow's falling. It's freaking cold as hell. You're out there on horseback. You're either out there on the horseback, and when you take your breaks, you're in the stables. We get a fire going around, a fire in a barrel, and you stay warm that way. That's what you do. You stay warm by the fire in the barrel. Otherwise, you're out there in the feedlot on horseback, freezing your ass off, wrangling cows. So I was freezing my ass off. My buddy in there, Larry, working inside the mill portion of it, said, "Hey, there's an opening, a silage driver. You want to get off horse? Who doesn't want to be on horseback? First of all, you're in Texas. You're living the cowboy lifestyle. Who doesn't want to be on horseback for your job?" I mean, it was awesome. But when it's cold in the wintertime, it ain't so fucking fun. So when Larry gave me the opportunity, he says, "Hey, we got something moving up. You can move on up as a silage truck driver." And the truck's got a heater, so you ain't going to be in the cold. Because that was my biggest complaint. I'm fucking freezing my ass off out here, man. It's wintertime. And so I got promoted. I dropped the cowboy position, got promoted to silage driver. Position there is silage pit. If you don't know what silage is, oh my God, you are in. If you don't know what silage is the roughage, the corn stalks, the husks, the trash. I don't want to say trash because it's actually feed for the cows. But anyway, what you do is you put all the stuff that humans can't consume: the roughage of the corn stalks, the leaves, the stalks of all the hay stalks and stuff like that is all thrown into this big pit. So what the farmers will do is farmers will dig out a big old pit out of the ground. Just a big old pit, probably twice as big as a semi-tractor trailers. Like you could fit 2 or 3 of these tractor trailers inside these pits. Then inside these pits, they throw all the old roughage while it's still green. So you fill these pits up with the old roughage and you just pile it all up. So at the end of the season, all the roughage and the stuff that you scraped up out of your fields, all the trash, the stalks, the leaves, old grass, you just pile into these pits, and that's your silage. Well, what that does is while it's sitting in there, it's all green and wet, and it sits there and it starts to freaking ferment, and it freaking stinks, and it starts to smell, and to me it smells like freaking puke. Alright, so my job was to take this dump truck, basically a dump truck, drive down into the silage pit where there's a loader, front end loader. And this is where I learned my loader experience at this point, is I learned to get my bucket, fill up my dump truck full of silage, and I take the silage truck, I drive it to the grain mill, onto the scale, drop weigh it, drive it around into the mill itself, dump my grain, or dump the silage into the 1 or 2 pits there, the auger pits. And there's 2 pits there that just have these augers going, these double auger pits going. And these auger pits auger this silage all the way up into the top of the mill there, where it gets mixed in with some feed and some molasses and other stuff, vitamins and whatnot. And that is the actual feed that goes out to the cows that are in these pens out there. So see what you're getting? You got the whole feedlot out there, individual cows, and this is how I learned it too. The cowboy takes the cows out of the pen. They have a front end loader that comes in there, scrapes up all the bullshit, the cow shit out of the pen. They load it into big trucks. These big trucks, that's what my cousin Gene used to drive. And I think Wendell drove those trucks too, the manure trucks. And then they take those manure trucks out to the fields that the farmers get, and they auger out the manure to fertilize the fields. Another way they fertilize the fields is with ammonia, using a big A, which is one of those big If you see monster truck tires, a big A is those monster truck tires on an A-frame, A-frame, 2 tires on the back, 1 tire in the middle. And it's got these big old arms that come out, spray arms on each side of it, and a big old tank on the back full of ammonia. That's what, I was a flagger, and that's what we spray as ammonia onto these, out of these big A sprayers to fertilize the fields as well. But back to the XIT. So the silage, that's what I would do. I would dump the silage into these big auger things, and after I'd finished my load, I'd drive back around, weigh my truck to get the empty ticket. So, and recycle, repeat. Drive the empty truck around to the silage pit, down into the pit, jump off into, and when I jump off the truck, you jump off both feet, it's squishy, like you're in marsh, because there's water, and that silage sucks, and the juice in there stinks, and it's just like grass juice that's fermented. So if you drank it, you probably get drunk as fuck. But anyway, and jump into the loader, you load up the silage into the dump truck, back the dump truck out, drive to the scale, weigh the load, get my ticket, drive around, dump the load, drive around, weigh the empty load, get my ticket. And that's my day. Over and over. Repeat. And all I'm doing is taking silage to the mill. Still fucking cold out there, and in the morning time when it's cold and you get a scoop of that silage, it's actually warm in the bottom of the silage pit because of all the steam that's coming from this fermented silage. As I go in and get a new scoop of silage with the front end loader, it's breaking open the new section of it, and it starts steaming because it's been fermenting in there. It's nasty stuff, and it's just over and over. I'd go home smelling like that shit. And that was my complaint to Larry. Oh man, this job sucks. Yeah, I'm a little bit warmer half the time because the loader don't have a heater, only the truck. But and I still got to do that half the time. But at least I got to keep warm in the truck, and it had a radio. But at that time was Walkman, so I had my little cassette player Walkman and my headphones, and the job opened up inside the mill. So Larry says, "Hey, if you want to move on up from driving the silage truck, there's a roll operator position, assistant roll operator position opening up. Old man's retiring, and we need someone to take his spot." So I got to move into the mill, which is warm. It's warm. I'm not outside in the weather no more. But I'm a roll operator now, and what I'm doing as a roll operator inside the mill is I'm flaking corn. Yeah, just like corn flakes, like you see in your cereal box, corn flakes. This is how they're freaking made. So, trucks bring in, semi-trucks bring in corn from the field. So farmers grow corn in their fields, and you see them bring out these big old combines, and you see the combines throwing all the corn into the back of this big old giant semi-truck. Once those semi-trucks are full of corn, those semi-truck trailers go to the feedlot. Feedlot, they go inside there, they roll open the bottom portion of that door. On the bottom of the trailer, there's a roll door that you have to crank open, and as that door rolls open, all this corn and grain. I dealt with the corn. I'm sure there's some that deal with grains and whatnot, oats, different feed that come in. I was the roll operator for corn. So the corn would come in and get filtered on, augered up into these big rolls. At XIT, we had six rolls. 6 tall, probably 3-4 stories high container, and 2 giant rollers. There's 2 steel rollers, like a giant blower almost, but 2 rollers that meet together. They meet together like this, and it flakes the corn. The corn falls in between, and then it just rolls it out, flakes it out. So my job is to flake the corn. It has to be a certain thickness. So I can adjust the thickness on those rollers on how much the corn breaks. I can crack it a little, or I can flatten it out flat where it's getting smushed. You don't want it to get too smushed, but you don't want it just a cracked kernel either. You want to be able to have the cow able to digest it. So it has to be a certain way, and it's actually just a feel you get. And once you get that feel down and you know what you're looking for, you just got to keep it consistent. Now it's a lot more than just that, because you got steam. You got to put in there steam, because this corn is hard, and as it's going through this tube, it's filling it full of steam, so you're softening it so that when it gets down to the rollers, it cracks easy. Otherwise, and I've heard those rollers when the steam's not right, the rollers are fairly quiet because it's cracking the corn and it's just going through, boom, 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 boom. When the steam is not so right and it starts getting a little dry, to turn the steam up is when you start hearing it start cracking a little louder. It'll start going bam, 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 a whole lot louder. You got to adjust the steam a little bit more to get that to quiet down. When it starts getting loud, you have to open them up a little bit to keep the flake a little wider. Turn the steam up a little bit more to get more steam in there to make the corn softer so it flakes easier. And I did that roll operator position for quite some time. I was making $1,000 a month at XIT. I know it don't sound like much, but that was the going rate back then. Working hard every day and coming home. I think I had just the weekends off at that job. But yeah, that's where it stopped. A roll operator at the XIT feedlot there. That was in 1985. Around 1985-86, moved back out to California. Ann and I sold my old '73 Camaro that I had there in Pampa, and I also want to thank Jody also for turning me on to Firebirds out there. But anyway, I got rid of my old Camaro. I traded it for a 1960 station wagon. Put Stephanie's crib bed in the back of the... what I did is I folded down the rear seat, put Stephanie's baby crib mattress there, and then packed the whole back of the station wagon. So Stephanie and Ann had the passenger seat, and the whole back seat Stephanie had. And then we packed the back of the station wagon with my stuff. My dad had a van, an old Ford van. I'm not sure if it was Uncle Tom's or not. Later, I think he sold it to Tom. But anyway, we had an old Ford van that we used also to drive out to California. And we just tag teamed it out to California, San Francisco Bay Area. When I got to California, my mom and dad were already getting their own apartment and stuff like that. So Ann and I, we stayed with my grandmother Alvarez over in Pittsburgh. We stayed with her there for maybe a month or so, and then I'm trying to get an apartment over in the Bay, over on the peninsula, South San Francisco, San Bruno area, and then I was going to move from Pittsburgh over to the peninsula. I had a couple of good job prospects over there, so that's what I was doing. In Texas, what I had been doing in Pampa, I was doing road construction before we left Delhart. So I had some experience with some heavy equipment, road construction, road graders, front end loaders, those types of things. Sandblasting, oh man, that was a great job. I loved sandblasting. It was one of my best jobs I ever had. I loved it. So, I had experience doing that. And not only that, but then during high school, I worked at a hardware store. So, Jody Miller and I worked at Handy Hammer during high school in Pampa. So, I had that kind of experience as well. But after Pampa, we moved back to Delhart, Ann and I. Then after Delhart, Ann and I moved to California. Out in California, I started off with a couple of companies out there. I was a limousine driver for a little while for Gray Line Tours. Vista Limousine and Tour was the name of the company, but we also ran Gray Line. A real quick reference for that. The most famous person I had in my in my limousine, Sammy Hagar. Took him to the Waldorf, from SFO to the Waldorf. The other most memorable one I had was a princess. I don't know where the hell she was from, but I didn't talk to her. I just spoke with her handler, and that's what he would talk. He would be the one interacting with me. I was a little driver. I had a sign out there, had her name on it, blah 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 blah. He came up, said, "Yes, I'm so and so. This is the princess, or princess so and so. I'm not to talk to her. That I am only to talk to him, and if he will be the one telling me where to take them." And that was actually really cool too. I actually took them to the same place, Waldorf. That's where most of the high-end people went, San Francisco. And if you don't know the Waldorf Hotel, if you ever watched that movie Hotel, that's the one in San Francisco. That is that hotel. Anything else out there? Yeah, well, heck yeah. That's this is when Tommy also had his accident, 1985-86. He had his motorcycle wreck, and after he was healing up in California, or in Colorado, once he was all healed up and was able to ride his motorcycle again, he didn't have a job out there, couldn't find work. Told him to move on out to California, that I would get him a job with the place I was working at. And at the time I was working for a security firm called Wackenhut, and we were doing security, you know, basic uniform security stuff. Also during that time, my father started his private investigator company with a friend of his called David Berg, and the name of the company was called Griffin Berg Investigations. So we all went through private investigator courses, a couple of college courses as well. Shannon, Tommy, me, my dad, and Dave all took these courses. So I got my little private investigator license and all that stuff. Not too many people. I really don't share that with a lot of people. And to be honest, I was the private investigator guy that would actually do the visual stuff. Shannon was the computer background guy. We got him licenses and access to all these computer databases that he could search. So he was the computer guy. Dad and Dave were the big dogs of the company. They did all the interfacing with the clients and the face-to-face stuff. Me, I took pictures, video, surveillance. That was what I did for Griffinburg. Completely on the side, didn't make much money, just helping my dad and his friend out, basically. But yeah, you know, when you drive up there in a gold Trans Am, you try not to be inconspicuous. So, anyway, that takes us to like 1986. Doing basic security work around the Bay Area at that time. I was living up again up on a house in Pacifica when Tommy moved in with us. After that, once he moved in with us, we went and we got rid of that place when we moved down to a small 3-bedroom place in Belmont, California. We lived there for a few years. That's where my wife and I got a divorce. The reason we got divorced is she liked to go downstairs. We lived kind of above a bar, and she'd go down there and play pool. I was a gamer, so I'd stay home with the baby and play video games. Then we met had a couple of friends there, and me and my buddy, his wife and Ann would go down and play pool, and him and I would sit up there and play video games and get stoned, basically. We'd put the kids in the bedroom. Stayed in California until 1999. I worked at Genentech for a while. In 1999, I moved to Arizona to help my folks, and have actually been in Arizona ever since. And since this video is almost 2 hours long, I'm going to cut it off here, and we'll start up again with maybe some Genentech stuff or Trans Am stuff or anything. But I'm glad I got that Jerry Howard story out. And Jody, let me know what you think about that. And come back again for some more Ramblin' Rich. Thanks for watching.